Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad. Today we are blessed to be joined with another student minister under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's our Brother Amon Muhammad. He's the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 34 in the city of Durham, North Carolina.
In the time that we have left, I'll try to be as short as possible. We believe, of course, those of us who are with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we are with him because, as you can see, we believe that that is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad desired for his followers. Now, you know, the Imam, may Allah be pleased with him, beautiful human being, and you know, did a tremendous work that is still going on where Islam is concerned. I respect his community. I respect the members of the community, and I believe they are better examples of Muslims than, if we want to use, and I put in quotes, Islamic orthodoxy or traditional Islam.
So joining us today, as I said, we have our brother Amon Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, dear brother.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Willie. Good to see you, my brother, always.
Yes, sir. And thank you for joining us, man. I'd like to get straight into the interview. So let's get to it. You know, in preparing for this interview, I came across an interview in an online article that you did. And in it, you spoke about how you were a student of the Bible during your early days at the church was called Bold Springs Baptist Church in rural Rockingham County. So share with us some of your experiences and memories about growing up in the church and developing that love and that knowledge of the Bible.
Yes, sir, brother. And again, thank you so much for allowing us to be on the program. And we're very appreciative, and we enjoy watching NNV News and all of the work that you all produce down there in the city of New Orleans and the believers that help you. Excellent. You know, the early church experience, brother, is, I think, something that is very good. And I feel very privileged, in which some people may, you know, find that unusual. I feel very privileged to have spent my early years in the church, in that church experience. And I was blessed during that time to not only just go to church in a regular sense, but my favorite part of church was Sunday school. And when I was very little, I would say 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, coming up, our Sunday school superintendent was a very strong brother, and Deacon Hubert Adams. I'll never forget him as long as I live. And so we would break out, you know, what today we would call breakout rooms and whatnot, and based on age groups and what have you. And we would come back, and every time we came back, you would have to share what was discussed in your group, what you learned, and what no playing, what no laughing, what no joking. And when he would get to you, you would have to stand at attention. Before you even spoke, you would have to stand at attention, and you would have to say, "Dear brother and superintendent, this morning I learned in Sunday school," and then you made your point. So there was always times that, you know, we would have, you know, different things or field trips or what have you. But I feel like I was blessed that in those early years, the overall the church experience, it was a serious thing. And it really made us appreciative of what was going on, and very appreciative of God's word. And I still have a lot of stuff from, you know, the late 70s and early 80s, and my first Bible that I was gifted there, and I even show my children sometimes things that I highlighted in the 80s that's relevant to the day. So, you know, it was excellent, brother. You know, as I got older, you know, of course, I wanted to do more, you know, where our people was concerned. And so, you know, the connect with the community and what some would call activism was lacking, but overall the spiritual basis in terms of the appreciation for the Word of God, I definitely say in myself it was formed in the church.
Man, in addition to reading that interview, finding out about your early years in the church, I also read that you were an athlete and you were an academically gifted student. So can you talk about yourself as a student and as an athlete?
My new name for you gonna be digging in the crates. You got it, brother. But as most black males, especially young, sports was life, and we love sport. And I'm from an area where I would say our athletes were above average, and so there was always a certain level of competition, even if we went to different schools. There was a relative friendship between those of us who were athletes, and I learned a lot of discipline. Even of course, to look at me now, you would never think that I would have ever had any problems where weight was concerned, right? But one of the sports that I participated in was wrestling, and I did okay, I guess. I was a 4-year letterman and all conference and all kinds of honors and whatnot, and I could have gotten a college scholarship in that, and I didn't pursue that, but I really loved wrestling. But there's a thing called making weight, or sometimes you hear the euphemism sucking weight. And so coming out of football, which I also loved, and then rolling right into wrestling, I would have a very hard time making and wrestling at the weight classes that I wanted to. Um, but so I had to learn how to, even then, I had to learn how to fast, and how to, although we didn't call it that, but that's what it was. So, by the time I came into Islam, and there were, they start talking about, fasting, and, not eating and not drinking. I said, well, okay, I can do that. Man, that's not hard. But I really appreciated the experiences that athletics afforded me, football and wrestling and track. And it also, um, especially as you're a black athlete, and you can see even today, I mean, it's all over the place. There were many times that matches that, although I was winning, referees and different people would do things and make me lose, depending on who I was wrestling. And that was one of the things that really got me out of wanting to pursue the sport further, was because it's just so many politics and so much racism in the athletic world. But it also sparked me to begin to look into what was going on with the nature of the Caucasian people, because it just happened so often. We were punished differently, we were handled differently. So I knew then, I said, man, something ain't right here, you know. So I think a lot for those things that were uh sometimes made me angry or disappointed, and things that I wasn't afforded um, proper recognition in, I guess I would say. But if that had not happened, it would not have made me look into the nature of what was going on with the people that were doing this. And in during a tumultuous time, somebody put a copy of Message to the Black Man in my hand, and of course, that explained everything that we were experiencing. So I
Yes,
love
sir.
sports
And
still
that
to
and
this
that's
day.
one
Yeah.
of, and we're definitely going to get to talk about that, how that message to the black man got in your hand. But it was interesting also that in the interview you spoke about how your reading of the Quran ignited your interest in Islam. And so how did you come about, like who put the first Quran in your hand, and how did it impact you?
Yes. Well, at that time, it wasn't as many black bookstores and things of that nature at that time. And so I used the library a lot for whatever I wanted to do and research. And so I would go back and forth, trying to get little dabs of wisdom here and there and whenever I could. And at the time when I was in the 12th grade in 1990, my girlfriend at that time, she was going to NC State in Raleigh, and she was studying as well. And she gifted me my first Holy Quran. And man, when I got it, in that book, man, I couldn't put it down. It was a Yusuf Ali translation, and which I still have, and I still have that same Quran. And so that was it was a recommended version, right, of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we should study. So that's how I actually had my first Quran that was recommended that we should study with the clear language, not by translated by Christian authors, I guess I would say. But that's how I ended up with my first Quran and fell in love with it, immediately. And like I said, I still have it. It's almost in pieces, taped up, but I still have it.
Praise be to Allah. We're 3 minutes away before our first break. But so your girlfriend at that time gifted you the Quran, and how did that translate to you discovering the Nation of Islam?
Well, I got the book also. I had the Holy Quran. One day I got a Final Call newspaper from a brother who was interestingly, he's in our mosque in Durham today, but we met, this is like over 30 years ago now. Sold me my first paper. And so that's how I was introduced to the Nation. And at the time, it wasn't any members of the Nation in my school and whatnot, but I was friends with some Muslims that were in the school, immigrant Muslims from Pakistan, a good brother I'm friends with to this day. And so he would have different things and papers and whatnot that they would have. So I was just getting all kinds of things. And he was actually the first brother who taught me how to pray and whatnot. But he had a paper one day that some speaker was coming, and one of the things he was going to talk about was how, Minister Farrakhan and the Nation didn't represent Islam. So I had to go to him and say, hey, Muhammad, what's up with this here, man? And that was my first experience that there were some differences in the communities in terms of understanding. So we remained friends, but that was the last time I, went and got any water from that well. And then I began to search for where I could get more of just pure teachings of the Nation of Islam, which ultimately I found my freshman year, months later in Greensboro, North Carolina, when I attended North Carolina A&T State University.
And beautiful. It's interesting and beautiful just to hear, you're from being in the church with the Bible and understanding the Bible and how the guy was having everybody stand up and share what they learned, and then your experiences in wrestling, and then being gifted the Quran, and then from that point, and now you're here, is all a part of that recipe. So look, we're approaching our first break, brothers and sisters, and we're here. Like me, I'm already enjoying hearing our brother's testimony, how he actually journeyed to the Nation of Islam. So we're about to pause for our first break. You're going to hear from some announcements from some of our public sponsors. Then we'll be back to hear more of our brother Amon's powerful testimony. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you comment, and make sure you tag others to hear our brothers, the remaining part of our brothers' interview. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds. Online education. Helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion. that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people, and upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-4848.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small but significant steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
Back, brothers and sisters, to continue this interview with our brother Amon Muhammad, who's a student minister in Mosque number 34 in Durham, as he taught me how to say it, North Carolina. Man, in reading that article, this is probably one of my favorite parts and one of the most beautiful parts of that interview was when they asked your mother, about how she felt about you accepting Islam, and she shared some beautiful words about how she was not disappointed with you becoming a Muslim. Can you share with the audience just how your mother felt and feels about you being a Muslim and a student minister?
Oh wow. Me and my mom's are tight, you know, and we had I would say a traditional family in the sense of all of the things that comes with being Black in America, right? And you have all of us have so many good, hopes and dreams for our children, and we had faced a lot of challenges, of course, in those early years, but I was relatively, good, I guess you would say, and sports was good, and academically, I got into a lot of stuff in school, because it really wasn't even challenging to me, I just did well. And so, I got to a point where, you have different friends that, sometimes people will say, well, you don't need this friend or you don't need that friend. And I was always the type of person that I had, even in those days, I had friendships in all walks of life, right? So I was at a point where, there were many different ways that I probably could go, in good and not so good. So when I became a Muslim under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it was, I like to use the language, a real culmination of everything that I had been learning, that I had been taught, even from them, even from my parents and the church. It was, such a great fulfillment of purpose that, or beginning to go down that journey or that road to fulfill my purpose, that, it just gave her a lot of joy. And then as a parent myself now, I can see that even people that would come to her and talk about, our work and my labor and things that were going on, it would make her proud because, again, before that, people wouldn't mind, of course, delivering bad news, right, about other people's children. So she really came to, and I would say 90% of my family members really became not only happy about the nation, and they became supporters in many, many, many different ways. And before she retired from where she worked, she would share things that we were doing, even at the plant where she worked, and even people and workers and whatnot that knew me from a child would support. And then as my children were born and they grew, and even things that we would share with them in terms of raising money for the Savior's Day gift. I mean, the people would support, black, brown, red, yellow, white, Christian, and they knew what they were supporting, knew what they were supporting. So it was just a beautiful thing, brother, to really see how they came to really see and growing to see even more today, what we have dedicated our lives to. And I'm just grateful to Allah that He has permitted that to happen.
Hey man, I'm grateful to Allah as well, my brother. And that's such a beautiful thing. And this next question is a two-part question. How did you become the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 34? And what would you say has been one of your most profound lessons that you have learned being the student minister?
Oh wow. Well, as you were mentioned earlier about the journey, I think all of us at some point, we have to come to grips with that, just being chosen as Black folk. Yes, we're chosen as a people, but we're also chosen as individuals. And that, God He really orders our steps, and we have to learn how to surrender to that. And so I joined in Winston-Salem. We got the things going in Greensboro when I was at A&T, and we grew to become a mosque really from nothing into like 3 years, which at that time we didn't realize how fast that was, because we was just practicing Islam, right? And then the minister asked me to get something going in my hometown where I was from in Reedsville. So, all of those things that we were going through, none of those things I really asked. It's just that it went that way. And so we had a few cities in our region that were in need of student ministers for different, reasons and circumstances. And so there were a few cities that I was asked if I was interested in going to. And part of my youth also included my one of my mother's brothers, my uncle, who he lives in Tampa now, but at that time, when I was coming up, he went to Central. I don't hold that against him. We still go back and forth, although A&T is the greatest university on earth. But I would spend time with him in the summers in Durham. So Durham was a city that I was familiar with in terms of the beauty of the people, the culture. When I say the culture, I'm talking about the Blackness, I really liked the city, and I knew a few people there as well, and other people that were doing, good work. So I thought that was a good fit probably for myself and my family, and it proved to be a good fit for us. And over time, every day that passes, I can see again that this was another aspect of Allah's hand being over us in that way, because there's always something that arises that, had those other steps not occurred, I wouldn't be able to handle sometimes what goes on now. So I would say one of the most profound lessons that I've learned since I've been there is really how to, and this may sound cliche, but how really to trust in God. Because you have to really trust in him, because every time you go into a new environment, you're learning people in the area and people are learning you, who is that? What's this all about? What I mean? So I learned early on that you really can't vindicate yourself. And, you have to stay focused on the task at hand. And if vindication comes, but you can't get sidetracked on, spending extra hours proving your rightness, and that's one of the many things that I've learned. And I've also learned how people, if you give them a chance, they'll rise to the occasion. And the believers there are, in my opinion, very good believers and good Muslims, and who work best when they are challenged, by different goals, different things that we should do, as believers. So I've really learned that we function best when we have something hard and difficult, and something of that nature that we're working toward, and then working with the broader community that really look for us sometimes, even if they don't admit it, to give something in the way of guidance. And I've also learned over time, especially being there, not to worry about whether when they do what they do, whether our part is cited, so to speak. Don't even worry about it, because at the end of the day, all of that, Allah is going to make the people to see all of what's going on of consequence in the world. They're going to learn that the root of that is in the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir. And I know this is a large question. You can keep within this 3 minutes before I break. Just go back down memory lane. What was the first time you met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?
The spring of 1992, March. It was late March, early April of 1992. And that was a powerful, thing, of course, for me, because I was still a teenager at that time. And he was just, so warm, so gracious, beautiful brother. And he really embraced me, as a brother, and was all, very interested in what are you doing in life, and what are you doing in school, and where are you from? And your introduction, you had mentioned the Bold Spring Baptist Church, which is I don't know the mathematical chances of this, but the minister told me, and the reason he asked me to go to Reedsville from that was because that was a place that he had got sparked, where Islam was, preaching was concerned. He later would become a Muslim, but his inspiration to preach God's word came there. He told me about the pastor and the preacher. And I did my own research, my family and whatnot, and we came to see that the preacher that he heard probably was the man by the name of Reverend Hill, who was actually my pastor when I was a little boy. And the church that I grew up in was named Bold Springs Baptist Church, and which is the same name of the church that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's father pastored in the name of the community that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad grew up in Sandersville, Georgia. So I thought that was quite interesting, that even in those early years, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan were connected in their beginnings. And I say that because I believe all of us who help him, we're connected to those two in many of the same ways, if we would just look into our own lives and see that we're born to help him.
Beautiful, man. You building and more and more is coming out in this rich testimony. So we're approaching our next break. It's our next break, brothers and sisters. For those who are watching, hit the like button, continue to share, and return back after this next break. You're going to hear more of our brother's testimony. Brother Amon Muhammad from Mosque number 34 in Durham, Carolina. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Willie Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
For those of us who are joining us, we're here interviewing our brother Amon Muhammad from Mosque number 34, Durham, North Carolina. Just finished sharing just how the connection and between the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan being inspired by a pastor in regards to the teaching aspect and the preaching, by a pastor that was actually the pastor of a church that was the same name of the church that was pastored by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's father. So I'm glad we're getting that history. And since we're on the topic of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you know, you're a student minister of the minister, and you've had the opportunity to see the minister in public and in private settings. Can you share with the audience just 3 qualities of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that you would wish the world would know about him?
Yes. First, you know, even how you place that, brother, you know, public and private. One thing about the minister that I've observed, and I'm sure you have in others, you know, is he's the same person, public and private. And, you know, most of us have, you know, public and private, you know, presentations. I'm not saying or talking about business, you know, your private business and public business. I'm not talking about things that, of course, should be, you know, kept within your home in terms of private things. But I'm talking about, you know, the attitude and persona of the person. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the same person in public and in private. He's the same man. What you see and what you experience is not a show. It's not a facade. He is a beautiful man, human being, inside and out. And so I would first have to say his level of humility. And when I say by his level of humility, as I remember him mentioning that how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him that, brother, once you learn who you are, you will have to struggle to hold yourself down. And I can bear witness that he evidently has been able to handle that struggle, because a man of such consequence, to be able to walk the earth humbly as he does, with the great task that is on his shoulders, mentally, spiritually, and even with his physical challenges, that he, you know, he could have an excuse to get out of pocket, you know, as often as maybe he would like, but he doesn't. So he never acts that way. And when we're in his presence, it's always, you feel lifted, you feel elevated. And even while he is correcting you, that it is never mean. he's not a person who you get in the sense that there's no vindictiveness there. There's no jealousy there. It's no, I'm going to shine on you there. Oh no, it's none of that. So his level of humility and being able, as the Holy Quran puts it, to lower his wings and allow us, even to a degree at our own pace, to climb up on his wings to be lifted. He is a very, very, very humble and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man. So I'd have to say out the gate, his humility. Another quality that I admire in him is his ability to pay close attention to details, things that we would take for granted or not even notice in a room or any type of environment. His awareness of his surroundings, as he pays attention to and people. I mean, I know I'm not the only person that can bear witness to this, but I mean, even to talk to him, it's very few people, even our loved ones, that when you're conversating, you can see and you can feel that they're hanging on to your every word. And I mean listening, drinking you in and really, almost looking at you like, I mean, like, and you're talking, and at the same time you're trying to talk, you're like, man, this man is really listening to me, and I admire that. He's not distracted by what else may be going on, and when you've been placed in the seat of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to lead this community, I can't imagine what comes his way on a daily basis. I can't even imagine that. But with all of that going on, you're not dealing with that while you're talking to me. You're interested in what I'm saying, me and me alone. I just, that's incredible to me. And I would lastly say, I have to say, I try to put this as carefully, carefully as I can, but his courage, because the things that he does require tremendous courage and tremendous faith. Most of us are aware and familiar with, of course, the Million Man March and how that came about, and then what it took to put flesh on those bones. But, really, in reality, everything that the minister has done has followed that pattern, where his faith in those two, Master Father Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is at the very core of his being. And so when they inspire him to go this way or that way, he moves, and he doesn't take a poll and, wait on what the public opinion may be or whatever. I mean, even what our opinion may be, he respects us, but he's not going to not do something that those two want him to do because we're not necessarily with it. You understand? So his courage to go forward, no matter what the odds is. And I mean, it could be the Million Man March, acquiring all of our properties, or reacquiring, I would say, all of our properties, his world tours, that everybody should go and look into and study and catch up with, his trips to Iran, especially this last one. And you can go on YouTube. Your audiovisual department produces very, very good work. Go visit Mars 46's page. You can visit my YouTube page. I share a lot. That last Iranian visit, it was powerful, but it required tremendous courage and tremendous faith. So, I mean, he's just he's a beautiful man. I mean, on every imaginable level. And I think that everybody, of course, we're biased, but practically speaking, you should follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, whether you get your bow tie or headpiece. You should do everything you can do to follow that man, his level of humility, his level of attention to everything, and his courage and his faith and standing up. And then the world always ends up catching up to what he has shared with us. He is a beautiful human being, and the more you learn about him, the more you will love him, and the more you will admire him.
Yes, sir. Thank you for those beautiful words, my brother. We're going to transition to talk about some of the work you're doing there in Durham, North Carolina. And I know one of the big things before this 4-minute break we have. Tell us about the annual Black Family Day for Unity that you've been doing. What made you begin such an event, and what have been some of the accomplishments?
Everything I do, brother, and I'll tell anybody, I'm trying to copy the minister, as we're told in our lessons, copy the minister, right? So, that didn't come from myself. It came from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in how I saw that he was able to galvanize the Black community overall in terms of those in business, those in the arts, the spiritual community. And I said, this is beautiful. This would work. And so I actually got the idea and the desire to do that from him. And so we got started, and even the themes that we would take every year and how we would approach it, whatever was going on that we learned in the nation, or I would glean from my study of him, we would take that to be the theme and use it to, I would say, introduce more of our people to more aspects of him, and how we can unite outside of what would be viewed mosque activity, if you will. So we've had, since that time, we've had many people to be not only business people that will come and present, but we've had many people that we've learned about who've gone into business and had the privilege to watch their businesses grow. I've met people who, there's one couple that my wife and I, we're friends with, that one day they told us that they actually met there. We had one year we had a marriage blessing ceremony, and so everybody was there, were happy to take place, and then people that were single were kind of looking around, felt out of place, right? Man, I don't have nobody, and so they struck up a conversation with each other, and they're married to this day, with 3 children, beautiful family. And so I was glad that it worked out right. So we've had so many people that we've met and good stories, and we've been doing it long enough. This would be our 25th year. And we've been doing it long enough even to watch young people grow up and go from being children to adults and have families on their own, and just to have them to share how those principles that maybe we sometimes take for granted in, day-to-day mosque life, that whatever, piece and whatever nugget that they could get, that they were so appreciative to have that. So that's been a personal joy of mine, just to watch people grow. And a lot of people love to participate because, they want to interact with us, and they don't, some of them think we don't eat eat anything other than, fish sandwiches and bean pies, and that we have regular clothes. And if we dance together, especially like line dances, of which I know every one that's ever existed, just for them to, to go and say, man, I danced with the brothers, So little things like that, brother,
yes,
really bring people closer into what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah,
for the minister, guiding us in that way.
Beautiful, man. And to say that you all have been doing that for 25 years, That is phenomenal and shows the level of commitment and organization and effectiveness that you all are doing. So, dear family, we're coming up on our last break. Please continue to stay on, and we're going to hear the concluding portion of our interview with our brother Amon Muhammad. He's the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 34 in the city of Durham, North Carolina. I'm enjoying the interview, as I know many of you are seeing the comments. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Classes begin September 1st. To enroll, visit AsiaticMinds.com. Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline reads, "Separate and Be Saved. America's race problems and deadly race interactions are growing worse. It is time we leave the children of our former slave masters and 400-year-old tormentors. Separation from whites is the only and best solution to this problem, a serious problem that is rooted in prophecy." This FCN volume number 41 edition middle page article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is entitled "A Case for Separation." To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the nnvnews.com Final Call cover report.
He anointed our head with oil till our cup runneth over. He who, Master Farrakhan, Muhammad, that is he.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
And we're back, brothers and sisters, continuing our interview with our brother Amon Muhammad. Brother Amon, one question I want to ask you is interesting. It ties with something Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan mentioned on July 4th. His July 4th Criterion message, where the minister called out police departments who were being trained by the Israeli military. And in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, with that year, you were part of an organizational effort that resulted in the ban of such training in Durham, North Carolina. Can you talk about that effort?
Yes. That is a very pivotal point in America that, and for the sake of time, we don't have to go all over, that with the Israeli involvement in the police departments. But I would say succinctly that they have a very heavy footprint in many of our police departments, if not most, in the United States of America. And, that was a very tumultuous time. And we at the time, our police chief, C.J. Davis, who unfortunately we lost to Memphis. But at that time, beautiful, beautiful Black woman who, heart of gold. I really miss her already. But of course, she faced many challenges, not only as a Black person, but as a Black female. But she, from previous work in other police departments in America, and I think the last spot that she was in before she got to Durham was in Atlanta, she was aware of how they do things in terms of their training. So she knew that what she knew, how she did it, and her ability to train and what they would offer, that it was not necessary. And then the city council members, the majority of them, all different kind of people, also were trying to make sure that as Durham is trying to, I would say almost, I don't want to say rebrand itself, but really show that it is independent and different and its own uniqueness and strengths, which is true. So many of the city council persons were not in agreement. And one of our city council men, good brother, who actually was our LOC chair for 10-10-15, and he's a pastor, Mark Anthony Middleton, beautiful brother. He and others, I mean, in different community organizations and groups, nobody was really with this. And so it was just a beautiful thing in how organically it really came together and people really put their foot down like, no, we don't need this here. We don't need this type of training. And because of technology, when I mean that, the internet, Facebook, this type of, different thing, Twitter and whatnot, there was all of these lively discussions, and the local papers, were all engaged in the discussions. And the majority, of course, the so-called Jewish community, most of them, they were upset. Not that the arguments against it was not cogent, reasonable arguments, but just that the whole Jewish question was coming into, in terms of influence, was coming into control. And that's kind of like how we were thrown, kind of like up front. See, it's their fault. It's Farrakhan's influence in our city government. And I'll never forget the at the time, our brother, the city councilman, he messaged me on the phone and said, "Hey man, we did you know we was on the cover of Haaretz in Israel?" So this was a very upsetting thing to them, because up to that moment, no police department in America had told them no. And that's why they made it, circulate all over. And I believe that some of the things that we're suffering now, as you know, we're often members of the Nation of Islam push this conspiracy theorists and whatnot. We don't subscribe to that as theory, because everything that we teach can be proven. And right now, there's an uptick in violence and crime, and we have a lot of things that we suffer from as a people. But I do believe that some of this could be egged on by others, even to prove a point that, ultimately they would like to say that that was a mistake, and that the police department can't get a hold of what's going on in the area, and they want to either bring in stronger forces or National Guard, or force the city to backpedal and accept that type of training. So that's another good thing that I had a chance to watch and witness close up, that a lot of things that even people may think that is impossible. Oh, no, you can't do them. You can't tell them no. No, you got the door shut in your face there. You can't, we don't need you. You can't come here. And so that's a beautiful thing. And if people don't understand it, you will grow to understand it if you just do a little research and do a little study, that these people do not mean us well at all.
Did you have an opportunity to share with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan anything about the whole back and forth with this? And if so, were there any guidance that he shared with you?
No, sir. I never spoke with him about it. I only sent in writing things that came up. I sent correspondence, if you will, of the different twists and turns as things will come up. But to but I never spoke with him about it. But to be very frank, we have been already very well guided, and we have so much right at our fingertips already from him, that we can use, that will tell us, wherever we may be, what our next step should be. And, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. We have it. And there may be a few things that, require contemporary responses from him, like right at that moment. It could be something, but the majority of what we're experiencing in our communities, experiencing in our cities, experiencing as laborers, even student laborers in our cities, he has taught us well. He has taught us well, and we need to revisit and re-examine what we already have, and do our best to exhaust that. And that's what we did, and used what we had from him. We used materials, of course, from Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. This was the crux of our argument. So yes, sir, I know that's a lot, but that's what we did, and it worked. It worked. That's my main point. It worked. It made us to be successful following his example and guidance.
Yes, and we appreciate that, what you shared, and for the work that you all have done around that particular issue, as well as other stuff that you're doing. And so my closing question to you is, you're a very active student minister in your city. How have you had to adjust your service as a student minister during this whole COVID pandemic and this whole shutdown? It's the last question before we get ready to log on.
Yes. Well, I, like many, have always been been involved in technology and trying to use what, the nation and whatnot, and Twitter, and all that stuff. But I really had to get a crash course, if you will, in some back office type things, and learning how to use the technology in a better way. So we've made adjustments in that way to do more things online. And of course, we started going back out, on Mondays and call outs. But, there was a period in which we were not out at all, as you know. And unfortunately, it looks like, the way these people are moving, we're probably going to go that way again, although people don't want to accept it. But again, it helped to learn how to use more, and over time really reach more people, because the things that we do and the things that you produce, it's there. So even if people miss certain aspects of it, it's there, and they can go back and view it and whatnot. So I'm appreciative of the many advantages that have come about. And as we chatted maybe earlier about, in nearly 30 years of being in the nation and family life and whatnot, it was also the first time I've never been at home before, my whole adult life, where I've had an opportunity to really be with my family, because the mosque, in this label, is go, 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 go. So there's some good that I would say personally that came out of it for me, things that I discovered, in my own backyard. Baby, like, what's that? It's always been there. You ain't never seen that before. I never spent that much time in my house before, in the yard. So, on the other side of that, there's a lot of good that has come from that, and being with my family more and learning more and whatnot. So those are some of the adjustments, and hopefully Allah will bless us to eventually open the doors back up. But I do intend on spending more time with my family, even when those doors reopen, and doing a better job, right, at that, with God's help.
Yes, sir, my brother. Thank you, man, for your beautiful testimony that you have shared. And if you have the opportunity to go back on the various platforms, on NNV, on YouTube, and also on Facebook, you will see the actual comments that people are making, man. And there's a lot of people talking about just a powerful interview, my brother, powerful testimony. So thank you, my brother. And Give the believers the greetings. Give your family the greetings. And may Allah continue to bless you in the great work that you are doing and you're going to continue to do. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, and same to you, my brother.
All praises to Allah. And for those who are tuning in, we thank each and every one of you all. We see your comments. We see the lines of Messiah, Gregory Muhammad, Saloom Akbar, that's Valerie, Jasper. We see Roy Chilmo, Dr. Deshaun, calling some of you all your names, K-Real, Torrance. We thank all you all who have tuned in, family, Adroit Clemency. We thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you subscribe to NNV News Network so that you can stay abreast of what we're actually doing. So we're going to close out these brief announcements. We're here in the city of New Orleans working to pay off our mosque mortgage. So if you have the opportunity, please give a brief donation to us. We're trying to get 1,444 people to just donate $100. 1,444 people to donate $100. You can make that donation on Cash App. You can make that donation on GoFundMe and on PayPal. Please make a donation. We would greatly appreciate it. And in addition to that, we are praying for those who've been impacted by COVID, especially as we're seeing now these cases arising, these breakthrough cases, which they were saying at one point that if you had the vaccine, they were basically saying directly you couldn't get this thing again, but it's coming out. So we'll continue to pray for you all and thank you all for tuning in to I Have a Testimony. Peace.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.